Well, good evening, everybody. This is Mark Wallace, your host and facilitator of this special edition of the People Show here on this Wednesday night. And I hope that some of you will come in. I was going to talk about something else. Um, but um, I may talk about that. But I think I need to clarify some things, and I'm really talking about some things that I got into some conversations with people on Facebook, social media, and one of the things that I just refuse to do. I refuse to get into a I refuse to get into division or more division or participate in that, certainly fighting with or even seeming like turning on people from our community. I will not allow myself to engage in that. And I hope that that you all share that same ideology or that same commitment. There are some people, unfortunately, that are not as informed about the issues and not as informed about the short range and the long range of how things historically have worked and how things are working politically for our communities. And so I will not allow myself to get sucked into fighting with our people and become distracted from what is needed for our people, and really to be distracted against those who are working on antithetical policies and agendas that will be antithetical to the people of our community, to poor people, to seniors, to the most vulnerable people. Not me. Not me by any stretch of the imagination. Can any of these governments do anything that is going to impact my life and my family? I have been thoroughly blessed to be able to earn a living that I can provide handsomely for my family and help my family, and to help others, and to be able to do this because I self-fund all of this. I don't do advertisement, don't ask for advertisement, don't ask for donations. I make the commitment to use whatever advancements and accomplishments that I've been able to enjoy to support this work. And I'm hoping that we can collaborate ourselves together. So that's really what I want to focus on. I will probably do another live to deal with some things because I want to deal with an interview that I saw that was done by J.B. Pritzker, who talked about some things that I think that are very important. But I'm not going to talk about it tonight because I don't have the clips and I want to be able to have it, the conversation in full context. But what I am going to talk about is what I have been talking about for more than 6 years. Now, you all know that when I started the campaign and we called for the abolition of red light cameras and then speed cameras, in that advocacy, we were able to encourage a lawsuit, a class action lawsuit that returned $38.75 million to motorists in and around the city of Chicago, caused the city to have to comply with the due process of the law and proper notices, had the city to reduce and eliminate $125 million in debt from red light cameras at the time. We forced Rahm Emanuel to eliminate 20% of the cameras in his bid for his reelection in 2016 or 15 or something like that. Out of that work that we did, we started to talking about, or I started talking about while I was on the radio, trying to figure out how to get more of us working together or organizing ourselves together. And a part of that was I started talking about collaborating or getting people to participate in elections, right? Getting more people to go to elections at the time. And then we were talking about asking people to talk to people in their families and in their communities and people that they know. And then I started saying that, okay, each one of us, let's get 10 people to go to the polls and vote through an election. And so as this progressed, then I came up with the idea that we should develop our own independent voting block. And as a result of that, birthed 10 by 10 to win. And 10 by 10 to win is the infrastructure of the voting block that we here in Cook County, in Chicago, in Illinois can build our own independent democratic voting block. And the reason that we need to do that is because we do have the landscape of a large population of Black registered voters in Chicago and in Cook County. And because of that, we have the ability to construct our own representative voice that can function for the interest and equity of our communities, to protect our communities, to provide for our communities, to influence the people who are in public office, and then to be able to remove people from public office and put people in public office that will be there to be advocates for the equity of our communities. Because what has happened is that while we have participated in elections and while we have voted, our votes are fractionized, and so they are manipulated to be used for the interest of someone else's agenda, not for our agenda or our community's agenda as a whole. So therefore, we also realized in understanding that this is why we have as many people in position. We have Black people into political positions, but they're in political positions with very little power. And because they have very little power, they cannot represent the interest and the agenda that we call for in our communities, because we have not empowered ourselves to be able to force that kind of representation. And we can't force that kind of representation because we have not organized ourselves in a large enough, consolidated enough tent of Black voters that we can impact and influence elections based on our terms, that we determine it. So therefore, that's what we discovered, that 10 by 10 to win needed to be, we have to organize our own independent Democratic voting bloc so that we can infiltrate, that we can influence, that we can select, we can slate, and then we can elect. All for the purposes of making sure that on an equitable basis, from education to economics, our interests are respected and responded to. It functions just like a union. That's why unions have the kinds of influence that they have, because they're organized, they're strategic, they're systemic, and they go in one direction together. So we will function just like a union. Now, you have a union which has made up members, and it has a body of members. And in that body of members, the body makes up the agenda and determines what the agenda is, and the president of the union carries the agenda for the body. The president of the union does not set the agenda. The president of the union is the president that was elected by the body. So this is not about a personal club for me or any one person. I'm the chair and president and founder of 10 by 10 to win, but 10 by 10 to win is, we are institutionalize it, that 10 by 10 to win will function far beyond any one personality. So the body of 10 by 10 to win, which is the collective of the voters, we get together, because I don't make unilateral decisions. The decisions that I make are not about interest or equity or anything that has to do with decisions about what we support. That's done by the body. That's discussed. We have a discussion. I moderate the meetings. I make that agenda. And then we, as a collective, figure out what our structure is and what we need and what we want to go forth as a collective. That's all done internally. Then once the body has determined an agenda and voted on it, and the majority has voted on it and has passed, then I have to take that agenda that the body has mandated, and then we as a body advocate for that, for the whole, for our entirety of our community. That's how it works. That's how unions work. We would function the very same way. And that hit me years ago, that that is what we need to do. So what I am asking for us to do is to let us not allow for people to further disconnect us from each other and further put distrust between each other, to have us bickering with each other. We have the wherewithal to bring our own independent Democratic voting bloc together, that we can infiltrate the the Democratic Party. We can fix the parts of the Democratic Party that is not working well, and we can make it work better for us. It's no different than your vehicle. You have a car, you have a mechanical problem with that car. You don't get rid of the car or go buy a whole nother car. You take the car into the shop and fix the parts that are not working well so that the entire car runs smoothly and runs better. That is what we have to do with the Democratic Party. The Republican is not an alternative for us. And so the best thing that we have is to fix what is broken within this structure so that it works better for our entirety of our people. And we here in the Chicagoland area, Chicago, Cook County, in the state of Illinois, we have the numbers to do it. In Chicago, we have more than 600,000 registered Black voters. In Cook County proper, we have more than 1.5 million Black registered voters. In Chicago, there's another 150,000 or so that have aged in that are eligible to vote. Then we have 16-year-olds that can pre-register. So we have the ability to build a phenomenal, strong voting bloc that we can transform and transcend government in ways that we will even amaze ourselves as a body of people. We can make our schools stronger. We can make our communities safer. We can make our communities richer. We can have people working. We can reduce unemployment and inequities in our community simply by banding ourselves together, that we determine who it is that we're going to have to represent us, not having the party tell us who the candidates that we can select and vote from. We will reverse that. But what we have to reverse first is our fractionization from each other. So what I'm asking for you to do is to join us on Thursday nights, and that's all that we are doing now. We're working to support. We're working to support Flossmoor, who they are campaigning to elect their first Black mayor in 100 years of a community that's 63% Black, 27% white, and has a 100% white administration. And they do not respect the voice of the Black community. So we're working on that. But primarily what we are doing every week is we're organizing to build, to build, to build, to build. And again, I want to re-emphasize this in case you share this with somebody and they understand that there are no unilateral decisions made on behalf of the body. In other words, if we have an election, I, Mark Wallace, as the chair, founder, I don't go out and say that I'm supporting this person or that person. The only way that that happens is that we as a body have to have our own internal discussion and election as to who we are supporting or who we're selecting and slating. Once that happens internally, and as a body that we've determined that, then I take the body's message publicly. Unless the body has made that determination, I don't have the authority to go out and to advocate for anybody unless the body has given me the directive to do that. That's the structure. All right. So I'm going to put in the post so that you can get into the text alert. And all you have to do is text 10x10 to 855-909-1385. All right. And then when you do that, what will happen is that you will receive a message letting you know that you are in the text alert, and you'll receive the Zoom meeting link tomorrow between 1 and 3 p.m. for the meeting that takes place at 6:30 by Zoom. And the most powerful thing we can do is to keep adding our numbers and expanding our tents. So let me just tell you the power that we could actually have if we do this, when we do it. And it's the only way that we are going to transform our conditions. If we continue to do things the way that we're doing things, we will continue to not make the kind of progress that we need to make in the most important areas in our communities and transform our communities and control a government as it should be by the people. Okay. So let's assume that we got where we started in Chicago and we get 10,000 people from each ward that we live in. And maybe you become the captain of your precinct to organize people in 10 by 10 in your precinct. But let's just say, I'm going to just talk about it in general now. Let's say that we were able to get 200,000 people. If we got 200,000 people, and we had 200,000 people, let's say we had 200,000 people in the last primary of the primary elections of Illinois, we would have swept the election because we would have been able to impact every election in the districts where we lived. Then you say, well, how are we going to raise money? We also can take care of that collectively without anybody being taxed. Each one of us give $10 a month. 200,000 people times $10 a month is $1 million a month, $12 million a year with just 200,000 people. So that gives us the money to pay for salaries for people, administrators. It gives us the money to pay for campaigns. It gives us the money to pay for lawyers. It gives us the money to advertise and to have whatever the requirements that we would need to allow for us to move forward to do the kinds of things that we need. And then we don't have to worry about external people giving money. Now, people can help us if they want to. They can help us if they want to, but they have to understand that this is an independent Black Democratic voting bloc. If people want to help us, we don't have any problems with people wanting to help us, but understand what this is. We'll welcome their help, but we don't need their help if we take care of our own. Now, I have heard people say things like, we need to do for self. We need to do for self. Black people need to do for self. Okay, let's go with that. We have the ability and the resources to do for self here in Chicago and in Cook County. We have the ability to do that. Why? Because there is no one who runs for a public office, whether it be locally, whether it be by the county, or whether it be for the state or any of our federal offices. None of those people can win without the Black vote. And if we organized the Black vote to work the way we want it to work, not for somebody else to make that determination, that we determine the candidates, not the party. We're not abandoning the party. We're fixing the party. We're infiltrating the party, that we are determining to the party who our candidates are going to be and who our representatives are going to be. How does that give you power? The way that gives you power is that when you have the power to determine someone's position in or out of office, they have to respond to your demands. It's just that simple. It's not rocket science. It is a methodology that is used by other groups that they get what they demand and what they want. That's why unions are so strong. That's why unions are so influential. Let's take the United Auto Workers. I'm going to give you an example. Let's take the United Auto Workers. The United Auto Workers is a union of auto workers That represents 400,000 active members in the United States and in Canada. 400,000. There are 580,000 retired United Auto Workers. This past election, before the Democrats made the change of candidates, when Joe Biden was still presumed to be the presumptive candidate, Joe Biden, a sitting president, was not invited, but he was compelled to go stand on a picket line that no other president in the history of the country has ever done. Because that 400,000 plus the 580,000 impacts a number of other and influence a number of others. So therefore, he had to be there to show them that he supported their agenda. And guess what happened? The United Auto Workers got what they were due. That's 400,000 people nationwide. We have right here in the Chicagoland area more than 1.5 million of us that we can draw from, and we can build our own united block. If you just did it with 200,000 of us, if we got 200,000 of us together, we could be the example for the rest of our community of what a united force looks like and how a united force delivers for the whole. We would become the example for the rest of the country of what real Black united political strength looks like. And guess what? If somebody decides that they wanted to pick one of us off, somebody wanted to pick me off, 10 by 10 to win still stands, because it's the institution. It's not about the individual. It is about the collective, not about the individual. And we have to make sure that that is what the fundamental structure is. Yes, it gets started by someone, but it is not about someone. It is about all of us. So that is what the power, fundamental power is. And we can address any situation. Here's another example of that. Not just in elections. We're not just talking about elections. We're talking about impacting policy in between elections. Because if they don't respond to our communities in between elections, then we make them pay the price at elections. So assume that we organized ourselves together in a large enough number, and we start, having public events showing our consolidation and showing what our political strength is. I guarantee you that we will be able to see change happen before we even approach the first election. And the reason why is because every person in public office knows how to do one thing, is count votes. And everybody in public office will see Black people organize in a way that they have never seen Black people organize in the history of our existence. We've never organized, not institutionally. What we've done is we've mobilized on some different events, but we've never organized ourselves institutionally. And so what we will do is organize ourselves institutionally so that we will be the voice and the advocate for all of our people, and those people who are in our public offices must respect and respond to our community. This is not about anybody loving us. We can love on ourselves. And this is not about us being anti-anybody. We're not anti-white, not being anti-immigrant. We're not being anti-Hispanic. We are being pro-Black interest. That's what our focus is. I want to leave it there for now. I'm going to come back. We're going to do reminders of this, but please text 10x10 to the number 855-909-1385 so that you can receive the Zoom link to join us on the Thursday night Zoom meeting that runs from 6:30 to 8, period, about organizing. Again, we're supporting one election out in Flossmoor, but we are primarily talking about organizing, and you'll get all of the detail and you can ask questions. And we'd love to see you tomorrow night. And if you are there and you're the first time that you have joined the family, we just like for you to introduce yourself, give us your name, where you live, and who invited you. I hope that I have invited a few people to come tomorrow night. I'll be looking forward to. I think that we can transform our communities in the most powerful way, regardless who's president, regardless who's governor, regardless of who's mayor. We become the power. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow night.